for today. Yes. I will see that she has more homework or something. I will see a way of having the revenge now. Kidding. Okay, fantastic. So welcome to another lesson. Yes. Let me check one thing first, because I have to make sure that the sound is all right. And even I have to sort out the cable thing. Give me one moment, please. And okay, apparently this is okay. Settings, this should be okay. Okay. This should be okay. Should be okay or not? I don't know why I don't see any audio coming up from the streaming. That's fine. Sorry. 1 second. It should be, but it's not going through. Why? Well, today is going to be a little bit of composition. So, Georgios, I hope that, there you go, you can intervene a couple of things, because you're the one that started this with me, basically. So you should know. Yeah. I have no clue why this is not happening, but well. Moving on. Can you hear me fine, at least?
Yes.
I don't know. It's apparently something about the internet, but everything is connected properly. So I don't know. I really, really don't know. Okay, fine. Well, some concepts of composition. I mean, remember that at the end of this course, let's say, yes, in December, you should be composing something similar, yes, as close as we can get, yes, into a invention. So that means that we need certain components of composition. Yes, in that clearly Georgios will have the advantage, of course, but that doesn't mean that, you know, Jasmine or Laura, yeah, gonna make it. Yes, naturally, yeah, the stakes are very high on Georgios because he has an advantage, but the how to say, the aim, yes, for you, Laura, and then Jasmine, is for you to know what to look in a composition, okay? To make the decisions according to you know, to notions, to knowledge. If you want, you know, in the performatic, yeah, area, not according to something that you said or something you heard, or a teacher, or a version. I mean, the decisions coming from the composition itself. Yes, and that's why the inventions are truly, it is a treatise of composition, basically. Yeah. So let's review a little bit of voice leading principles before we get into this. Now, this is something that we already studied, yes, but let's clarify, yes. Now, everything that the voice leading teaches us, we have already seen it in species, okay? So, following the 5 pieces. Now, from the first pieces, yeah, actually, we shouldn't cheat. Actually, you should let me know what did we learn about, I mean, voice leading wise, okay? What did we learn about the first pieces of counterpoint? What taught the first piece of counterpoint?
Consonances.
Sorry?
Consonances.
Yeah, I mean, consonant is what you use. That's the element that you use. Yes, and yes, it's true.
It's like there was no big leaps, right? It was all
That's
very
fantastic, but we are talking about, yes, no big leaps, yes, but the concept of what first pieces is. For what do we use the first pieces? That's the methodology. What you're saying is the how-to, let's say. But what is the concept of the first pieces? That's what I want to, because each pieces deals with a concept. It deals with
stability.
The first pieces teaches us, yes, what, I mean, that's the concept, and as teachers, this is also very useful, very important for you to make the difference, yeah? The first piece teaches us the structural notes on which the musical discourse supports itself. Yes, is the skeleton, are the pillars upon which the musical discourse is going to be laid upon. But that is a concept, yes? The methodology, the how-to, yes, remember pedagogy, is, okay, no big leaps, we have the consonants. Why the consonants? Because if you have the pillars cannot be unstable. The pillars of something has to be stable. That's what we use, the most stable ones at the beginning or the end, which is fifth or octaves, yes, and then which, describe, yes, or portray or convey the key, yes, as clear as possible. And that's why in the middle we don't use many octaves and many fifths, because that relates too much, too close to a key. Yeah? But that is what the first pieces teaches us. That's the concept, the main concept. Then the how-to, yes, the methodology, that's another thing. I mean, it's related to that, yes, but that is the only thing. Clear, yes? Structural notes upon the musical discourse will support itself in tonal counterpoint. And this is very important to learn, to take into account, yes, when we see that that first pieces will correspond to harmonic progressions. Because now we have another thing, we have a new complexity, which is the harmony. Before, harmony was not in our concern. Okay, harmony, I mean, the harmonic structure of our exercises, unless the first interval, the last interval, we didn't care. It was all about melody. Now we have to start dealing with that. Yeah, so we're going to see that is important. Yes. So that's the first pieces. The second pieces. What was the concept behind the second pieces? Again, yes, it's not, don't describe. Try to find the concept behind the second species.
Movement.
Sorry?
Movement.
Movement. Yes. Movement through what?
The tool.
Yes.
Passing notes.
That's more descriptive. Go to the concept behind that. What is a passing note?
Dissonance.
It's a dissonance.
Ah.
Dissonance without any aesthetic pollution. Yes? Not dissonance as, oh, it's harsh, it's bad, it's wrong. No. Dissonance as the source of movement, because the dissonance is unstable. The pillars are stable, but we're not moving anywhere. Yes? We are there, stagnant. Yeah. Now, the source of movement comes from the second species, which introduces the dissonance as a way of motion, of directional motion. Directional motion because we cannot stay, yes, in that moment of dissonance, of instability, too long. If you're unstable, you're not going to remain in that state for a long time. That's it. That's the second species. Yeah. Third species. Again, the concept, no? I mean, goes without saying.
Ornamentation.
Yes, ornamentation, but is a concept that we learned, and the how-to actually is the ornamentation.
Prolongation.
Prolongation. Yes. It's prolongation. Yes. You prolong something through ornamentation. Yes. And this is when you start to make the difference between what is structural and what is ornamental. What is the what and then what is the how. That is the third species. Yes? Good. Now, the third species is linked, if you have to link, Laura, third species, if you have to link the third species to either the first or the second, to which species would you link? The first or the second?
The first.
Okay. Why? I mean, just to be just to make you be relieved. You're right. Okay. But now we have to know why you're right.
Don't know. I just kind of guessed it from the tone of your voice.
Yeah, you have 50-50 chance, to be honest. But if you're prolonging, the third species is prolongation.
Yeah.
Now, the first piece is just the pillar, yes? Now, that's why the third piece is telling you, or is telling, teaches us, how you prolong something that's structural.
Yeah.
So, through ornamentation, yes? But it's telling you that if you're prolonging something to ornamentation, you're prolonging something that's structural. Yeah, so that's why we connect to the first, yes? And we come to the last species, let's say, that, teaches us new things, which is the fourth, yes? What does the fourth species teaches us? And again, yes, remember, one thing is a how to, and the other thing is what is. Yes, it's not the same thing. So let's think. Laura, don't give up. Don't disappear.
Sorry, my housemate just walked in, that's why.
Sorry?
Said, sorry, my housemate just walked in, that's why. That's why I turned the camera off.
So, what do you remember? What do you remember? I mean, both Georgios and Laura, no? About the fourth pieces.
I'm not sure about the concept, actually.
Let's start from what do you remember? What do you use? Let's start with the how-to. Let's start with what do you use?
Quavers.
No.
How do you call them?
I mean, yes, you could use quavers if you want, but I mean.
Retardation, the other one?
I mean, I know it, but you know.
Suspension.
Suspension. That is how. Yes, exactly. That is what you use as a tool. Is the how-to. Yeah, this is also. I mean, you're teachers. Yes, and when you learn, also be in two sides. Yes, be in the side of the teacher and of the student. Look, you know, organize in your head what you're learning. Yes. Say, okay, which is the concept that I'm learning here? What is the methodology am I applying to learn this? So the fourth pieces, we learn the concept of movement through suspension. But it's a movement. And that's why it's related to the second pieces. Because the difference of the second pieces is that uses how-to, right? Movement, yeah, through syncopation. That is a how-to. But the concept is the movement. Yes? Moving how? You are suspending, this is how-to, you're suspending, let's say, yes, the resolution of a strong metric position, which the second species does have. Remember, in the second species you have strong metric position, consonance, weak metric position, dissonance or movement, resolution on the strong metric position again. Yes, unless we have internally meter, yes, but I'm not going to get into that. But the main concept is that. Yes, so strong, weak, strong, consonance, dissonance, movement, consonance. Now that is moved. Yes, because the beat doesn't move. Remember, the continuum never moves. That's why it's a continuum. The surface rhythm moves. Yes, the movement. Yes, the kind of movement, I mean, as if I may say, moves. Yeah, displaces itself, is a displacement. So instead of resolving on a strong metric position, it resolves with everything, all the movement of the dissonance is happening on the strong metric position instead of the weak. And is resolving instead of the strong metric position and the weak. But nevertheless, is movement. It's the same concept. It's another way. Yes? And you can extrapolate that same concept in many, many things. Yes? That's why it's important to know the concept of what you're learning. Yes? Not just the example or the how-to. Because if not, you cannot use it. You cannot reuse it. You cannot adapt it. You cannot apply it even. Yes? So that's why the fourth species is strongly related to the second. So this is 1 and 3, 2 and 4. 5, yes, is the one that comprises them all, but goes beyond the mere dissonance consonance, in which now you're looking at the whole scope of how we're going to organize this in time. Yes, how I'm going to lay out this movement or this stability in time. Yes, And that is how we need to go through the pieces to learn these principles, yes, in order to, well, to see it, let's say, into a composition when you analyze, to see how the composer could do that. And the step beyond, yes, is when you have to compose yourself, yes. Now, there are a couple of things that even when you're composing, yes, or when you are analyzing motifs, yes, and now I have to share the screen. Yeah. So there you go. Ping. Okay. So far, I hope this was revision-wise all good. I mean, now clear, more or less. Good. And also, that's why all these elements and concepts that we have learned, yeah, have to be very clear, because now it's, you know, the combinatorial aspect is the study of the inventions. So another melodic principles, yes, voice leading guidelines, is the active steps within a scale, yes. And all this material also is, actually I taken it, yes, I have taken it from an article that, well, Georgios read it. He had to. How to write a melody, yeah, a long time ago. But within a scale, some notes are more stable than others, yes. Now, the notes that within a scale are more stable are naturally the notes that conform the triad chord, the triad. So the first, the third, and the fifth. Yeah? Naturally. In the minor, we're going to see what happens. But in the major, yes, you have the naturally, yes, the scale, the notes don't go as we played on the piano, let's say. That's not the natural way. If I do this, I play the second way, the way that these active steps have this tendency to resolve in a downward motion, except the leading tone that goes upward. That's hence the name, leading tone leads to the tonic. Go. Yes? When they say they're more active, is because they have the tendency to go. It's not that they were going to go, but they have a natural tendency. So the second one, the second degree supertonic, goes to the tonic. We learn that in counterpoint in these pieces. The fourth goes to the third. That we know it from the harmony, from the dominant seventh. Yes. That's the fourth that resolves. So this, even melodically, we have to be very aware when we compose or when we analyze, yes, that the fourth has a tendency, especially the fourth, because it's a semitone away. Every note that is a semitone away, that is closer to another note by semitone, have a more attraction. The six goes to the five, sorry, to the dominant, very strongly in minor, we're going to see that. And then the seventh, the leading tone, goes to the triad. Yes? So that's why when I play like that, you hear that everything went to the right place. Yes? Second to 1, 4 to 3, 6 to 5. Yeah? Leading tone to the 5, 1. Clear? Yes? So even if you're composing a melody, yes, those notes, second, or degrees, the second degree, the fourth degree, the sixth degree, and the seventh, they're going to be more active. That's why they're going to be more unstable, and henceforth they're going to last less. So they're not going to be as long, yes, as naturally, yes, as the first, the third, and the fifth. In the case of the minor scale, we need to use the harmonic scale, because if not, we don't have this tendency. So the leading tone is going to be here, yes? So you have the second to the 1, the 4th to the 3rd. Now, very powerfully, the 6 to the 5. Actually, this 6 to the 5 is the main characteristic of the minor, Aeolian, yes, and C, yes. So, okay, so the active steps are going to be proportionally shorter or less, yes, more active than the other ones, yes, which is 1, 3, and 5. Clear so far? Okay. Now, melodic contour. What is a melodic contour? If you have to define what a melodic contour is. I mean, the same word defines a little bit, but well, let's see. What is a melodic contour? I mean, what do you think it is?
Isn't it just like how the melody's like shaped?
Yes. Yes, that's it. It's the main shape of the melody. Okay? Now, it has a very fancy word, which is melodic archetypes. Okay? But, yes. Okay? You have, when it says archetypes, it's because are taken from many, many, many melodies, and this is kind of a standard, yes, in which you have one is the one that has ascending climax. It's most common, yeah? So the line goes up, and then the highest point, and then descends. Now, the placements of the climatic notes, yeah, well, will depend on the melody. Yes, sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end, sometimes it's, I mean, usually, well, we can talk about the golden number, which is 60-something%, but basically you can have ascending to a climatic note once and then descend. Then you have pivotal patterns in which you have the whole melody goes around a pivot, a note, okay? Descending anticlimax, well, this one usually is more mellow, let's say, yes, in which you don't have a climax, but you have an anticlimax. You have a lowest note, and then you go back. By step progression, well, by the step progression melody has something that you have a very clear sense of, you know, melodic sense, ascending or descending, but it's not straightforward. Yeah, so by ornamentation you get to that point by steps, but it's not, they're not consecutively achieved. We're going to see examples, and you're going to see very clear. And compound lines usually is when you have just one instrument in which one line is not enough, yes, because it could be very boring. And what happens is that you divide into layers. For example, let's say, these are the examples. Ascending climax, clearly you have a melody. For example, this is in G minor, starts in the dominant, this is in the climax, yes, going to F sharp, ascends to G, tonic, and then ends on D. Okay, so the whole excursion, let's say, is an octave. Yeah. Amazing melody by Handel. Yes. He knew how to compose melodies, by the way. Yeah. So then we're going to see how, you know, the climax is so well achieved. Yes, but clearly you have a D, excursion, let's say F sharp is just a neighboring note, but G, octave, yes, so you have a whole octave, starting and ending on the D, yes, climax on the G, achieved once. The one of pivotal pattern, everything's around D. Even you can subdivide. This is in pivotal patterns. This is very common, in which you can even, if you see the melody, you can, if I play just the blue ones, or the green, you have two melodies. And around that, yeah, so I play first the blue. Yeah, D, D, C, B. And then starting from D, the pivot. D, C, B, A, G. Okay? So it's a pivot. The pivot is a D. And then together. And that's why when I resolve, I play two notes. By the way. Yeah? Because it can go either way. That's quite hard to achieve, by the way, as a melody. But again, Handel was a genius. Descending anticlimax. Yeah, so descending climax is a violin piece. Now, we could say, well, yeah, but this has a climax. Well, it is not a climax. We couldn't consider this a climax because it's a neighboring note, because of the position on the bar, because it's not a stronger metric position, because it's not long. Yes, so it's more a neighboring than, yes, the fact that it's the highest note doesn't make it the climax. Yes, but the direction of the melody is taking the whole bar to get to this, at least F, an octave. So the whole incursion, yes, the whole range of the melodies, F, F octave, F, and then descends to E. So it starts on F, yes, goes to F, the octave below, and ends on E. That's the whole excursion. Okie dokie. This is another example. Now, well, more or less clear this example or not? Yes? By step progression. Okay, so this is what I was saying. Yes, yes, you have a line by step progression, but it doesn't happen immediately. You have ornamentation, things that are going through, that are happening in between. Yes, but clearly you have this line, this fifth in this case. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, in this case it's very marked. It's very obvious because you have leaps and leaps and leaps. Yes, in which this upbeat, yes, leads towards. But also you can do it. You can have it less obviously in the second, in the next. Not example. It's the same example, but the same device. Let's say, yes, later on. So we have the E and the E and the D and the C and the B and the A and the A, G and the F. Okay, so that is by in step progression. And one that also is in compound lines. The last one. Now this is very, very common in Bach, in the partitas, in the any piece composed, okay, by not by Bach actually, but an accompanied instrument, yes, by cello or flute or oboe, because they have to create two layers. The first one, yeah. Yeah, and the second one. Clearly we are in D minor. Clearly we have a descending line from D tonic to A dominant and to D again. So one line, let's say, is in our memory as a descending line, like that. That's the bass, operates as a bass. And then the other one, well, in sequential, yes, it's a sequence, but it's a melody. Yeah. There's another example of, like always, I quote this example, which is great, which is the Bach example. Second fugue, C minor, the one that have the, I can't remember now, but that's the prelude, but the fugue, one layer, second layer, yeah, upper layer, second layer, yes, that's the upper layer. So the lower layer will be dum 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 dum. You have C B C A G, sorry, C B C G A C B C D G C B C D F G A G F E, and you heard all that time A G F E, while you were very distracted saying pa-da-pum, da-da-dum-pum, yeah. Yeah, so now that's what you call archetypes, yes, and this is just one example, naturally, yes, we cannot put all the examples. But in pivotal patterns, descending anticlimax, ascending climax, step progression, or compound lines are the most common, hence the name archetypes, yes. Now you have all combinations possible, but, yes, we can, more or less, yes, describe them as that, yeah? Now, how do we know how a note is important or not? This is something that you'll have to memorize for the rest of your lives, okay? This is something that we're going to very briefly quote, yes? I'm going to send you this material to study, basically. And we're going to see examples. I'm going to see examples in, yes, Bach, yes. So, this is taken from the Kent Kennan book, Counterpoint 4th edition. Amazing book, yes, Kent Kennan, amazing author. He says, in most tonal melodies, certain notes are heard as more important than others. Now, this is extremely important for you for an analysis, yes, to analyze stuff fastly, and then naturally to compose. So, notes are important. How? Why? Well, not because they have everything, but they have some or just one. The more they have from this list, the more important they become. So, the highest or the lowest in a phrase or longer segment, the first or on the and or the last, the longer in value, most of the times it's longer in value, repeated either immediately or later, yes, in a strong metric position, accented dynamically, harmonic as opposed as non harmonic, and in a step progression. Now, before we analyze these cases, let's see why.
Wait. In step progression?
In step progression.
As in the step progression technique we saw before, that is. Yeah,
exactly. Like the examples that we saw. I mean, it's not just one note. In this case, it's a note within a step progression, like what we saw just now. Pam. That is notes that they are perceived to be more important because they are treated in a step progression. Yes, it's not an isolated note. Yes, exactly. That's why it also is the last one. Yes. So, Laura, why do you think that the highest or the lowest in a phrase or longer segment makes that note or notes important or more important?
Because it's the climax.
It doesn't say the climax.
Why is it the most important?
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the climax, yes. You wouldn't have a climax of a just high note. That doesn't make the note a climax. You need a lot of these characteristics to make a note a climax, a climatic moment. And that's why it's important, because you as a pianist, if you make the wrong decision, you will think, oh, okay, climax, highest note, okay, fine. And you will make a non-musical or not very wise decision musically. So a high note doesn't make the climax. Yes? Cha-chan. So why do you think, yes, so it says in most tonal melodies, certain notes are heard as more important than others. And we're trying to make, try to come up with a reason why.
Yeah, that's you asking me why.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
because
yeah.
The tune.
Sorry?
Has it got something to do with them being the tune?
Well, naturally. We're talking about tonal melodies. If you think about, we're talking about also melodic contour, yes? And within the melodic contour, the highest or the lowest, yeah, are perceived as more important.
The highest.
Mm-hmm. Or the lowest, this says. Look, let me see, how can I do this? Wait, sorry, just 1 second. How can I... Okay, do you see a whiteboard, right? No?
Very small one, very...
Like a white strip.
Yeah.
Oy, oy, oy. Wait, let me see if I can... that?
Same thing.
Oh my God. I don't get away with technology. Whiteboard. Now?
Yes.
So let's say that this is the melody. Yeah? It seems to be a... I don't know. A heart attack. But well, fine. So if this is the whole contour, this is the moments of the peaks. The moments in which you, I mean, it's like, look, when you remember something, okay, when you remember a movie, okay, or a story, say, oh yeah, what did you do yesterday? Well, I went to see a movie, and what was it all about? Oh well, and then are you going to say every single dialogue and every single thing that you watched, or you're going to just going to say the hallmarks? Yeah, hallmarks. Yes, that is how we remember. We always prioritize. We cannot remember everything. So that is the peaks. That is how our memory works. So in a melody, you will remember that. You remember the peak.
I guess it is related to, in the homophony, in the voices, the highest and the lowest stand out, and the middle are kind of lost. Similarly, in one melody, the highest and the lowest moments will stand out.
Yes, exactly. Yes. The thing is, now, this is something that even, let's say that you have even a choir, at some point the soprano, even in that case, that is more textural, but yes, it has to do, of course, yes, because, you know, it is something that will stand out because of the pitch, yes. But even in a choir, let's say that you have a choir, yes, that is singing, at some point the bass, yes, will sing a lowest note, yes, and the soprano will be the highest note. Something will attract your attention, let's say, yes. So that's why. A couple of ones, because I know that Georgios has a lesson with Juan. Next one. Fast and or last. Why would that be something to remember? Why the fast and or last notes are notes that we would remember more? When I say remember more, that's make them important. I mean, if you the nature of that note, if the nature of that note makes us remember it better or easier, naturally, it will become more important, right?
But why?
Yeah, why? Yes, that's.
But the why, that's the problem. The why is that, and I cannot go beyond that.
Well, the first note is the one that always generates expectation in a phrase. It's the beginning. Yeah. Imagine you go to the concert, you dress up, you bought the ticket, you went, you're waiting, you're listening to everyone tuning. That's a great, it's a huge expectation. So the first note is like you're, yeah. Even, I mean that's like the top, yes. But even after a cadence, you round up a theme, and then you know that okay, what is going to come? You have that expectation. So that's why that note is more important. Not because of the note, because of the what's the context of that note. And the last one is because it's the last thing you remember. If you're playing a melody, I don't know, yes, whatever melody, okay. So that melody, and then you hear this melody in another context, yes, you retain that melody, that note, yes, and I could make a big change, yes. I don't know, I'm not doing what I played, but you know. In C major. And I went to C sharp minor. Yes, okay, not in common, but if you see, remember the circle of fifths, yes, it's like 12, 4 o'clock, relative minor, yes. So it's kind of far, but even though it's far, because it was the last note, I retained the memory, so I could. It's a way of saying, do you remember that note? Yes, you remember it. Just listen to it. Now we're going to do something else. If you use another note, let's say, yes. And then you have, well, I played another chord at B minor. I didn't use any of those notes. Yes. So that note, it was important because it was the last thing you heard. That's why it was a connector to the other phrase. And this is just an example, okay? Yes. But how it operates is the last thing you heard. It's just the last thing. So it is important because of that, because you can play around that. Yes, as a composer or as the analyst, many examples of that, and nothing will come up with my mind now because I can't remember. Beethoven is what, for example, I cannot I don't know, I cannot play anything because I can't remember. That's why I had to improvise something, but he uses that a lot. Notes a stay and then whoop, yeah, you change the context. Yes, there you go. Well, the Moonlight Sonata, maybe the first movement when it changes from C sharp minor to E minor. Yes. Yeah. So that one. But it's, yeah. And then we're going to carry on. Yes. So this was just an introduction. Yes. We're going to analyze a lot. We have to go through a lot of things of composition. Yes. In order to understand how a melody works, it's structured. Yes. And then from there, how do we develop it? Yeah. Take the two-part inventions, the 15, as a treatise of composition. The treatise, instead of reading a book, yeah, you analyze those 15, and then you say, oh, okay, wow, this is how you compose. That's great. The same thing is with the Bartók Microcosmos. Yes, not the volume 1, but from volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, treatise of composition. Yes, is how we, how the masters work.